Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of my podcast. Today's podcast is going to be a little bit different. It's more of a reflection. I know that here recently, after we've been going past my 100th episode, which I'm super thrilled and excited about making it to this point. But the episodes that I've been making since my 100th episode is I've been trying to relate everything that we've been talking about, everything we've been discussing, back to the things that we kind of covered in the first 100 episodes. And now for the second half, for the second 100 episodes, I want to kind of make it about application. As I've said in a lot of the episodes since 100, life has really been teaching me some things here recently. And life moves in a cyclical nature. At least that's been my experience. Not only in the tests and the lessons that it teaches you, but also the things that you experience. It's not so much that you experience the same things over and over again. You just experience them at a different intensity or at a different level of understanding in your life. Here recently, I've reached a different understanding, a different level. And when you reach a different level in life, that tells the universe that, hey, I'm ready for new challenges and ready to take on new hurdles and new hardships in life. So when my friend passed away, my fraternity brother here recently, which I've discussed in the episode previous to this. It's really been my first brush with death with this much emotion attached to it since I think my grandfather passed away. And the reason why it was so emotional, such a pull on my emotional chords and the attachment aspect of it, was because we went through the fraternal process in our organization together. We fellowshipped and networked and we created a bond, that was stronger than a friendship, but even more so, we created the bond in such a short period of time. Like, it wasn't something that took years. It was just something that happens between two authentic individuals that are just being their truest self, 100% of the time. And as I've gotten older and experienced things and gone different places in life, I've seen that it's not too often that you come in contact with people who are real and authentic in their true selves and comfortable being themselves 100% of the time. And because of my experience with my good buddy who passed away, I've learned a lot of lessons. He was a wealth of knowledge. He was a little bit older than me, so he had some life lessons that he imparted me with, and he didn't leave this world without making an impact in my life. And I know that he's made an impact in a lot of other people's lives, families, friends, fraternity brothers, and two organizations, and a host of clients and business relationships and associates. He would truly be missed. But that's just one aspect of the things that I've been going through. It seems like I've been going through just a host of things, things on like a leadership perspective, things on a motivational perspective, things on like a dedication and discipline perspective, like family relationships, and really just confronting who I am as a man and as a human being. And I thought I had answers to a lot of these questions. I thought that when it came to certain things, I had already solidified what I was going to take a stance on and my position, regarding certain questions that might, occur or pop up throughout my life or throughout my journey. But one thing life is teaching me is that, nothing's for certain. I do have certain principles that I do not waver on, certain things that I see as uncompromisable. These are a part of me, and I am unwilling to change them at any point in my life, regardless of what I go through and experience. That's just the way I am. I cherish those certain characteristics and aspects of myself and my development, and I feel that as a man, they are essential to my existence. However, there are a lot of things that I've been finding out about myself that, are subject to change, manipulation. Like I see things in shades of gray, like not so rigid that there's lines drawn through every issue, and that you're either standing on the left or standing on the right. the politics, the political sphere that we've been going through in 2021, 2020, 2019 has really, made me question a lot of things. Being on both sides of issues that have been international in their scope and in their reach has made me look deeper into issues and really question my stance on a lot of different things, and also the experiences that I've had in the past 5-6 years with my career choice have definitely opened up my mindset to just a whole different world of possibilities and things that I haven't even comprehended prior to being in the position that I'm in. But the reason that I chose the career path that I chose is because I felt like there was so much misinformation around me that I wanted to experience the other side for myself. I wanted to see if this misinformation was true. And on the flip side of the coin, I wanted to become the change that I seek. Instead of relying on somebody else to take the mantle and to carry the burden of creating change in the society, creating change in our world, in our community, I felt like I wanted to be that change. I wanted to at least do something before I leave this earth that would leave an impact on my community, my family, my state, my nation, and any part that I can. Because I feel that, my mission is to leave the world better than I inherited it. Whether that means for my children, for my family, for my friends, for my community, for, in any aspect that I'll be able to reach during my journey on this earth. And a big part of expanding that reach is developing myself first. I forget where I saw the quote or how the quote exactly goes verbatim, but it's to the effect that become the change that you seek. Basically saying that, if you want to see change in the community, if you want to see change in the world, you need to start by changing yourself, making yourself more flexible instead of being so rigid and more malleable, able to like change and bend with the times. Because when you make rigid ideas or rigid rules and conditions, when things change as they will, your the rigid structures that you've assembled in your life won't be able to withstand the test. And again, it's a dichotomy, it's a flip side of the coin. There are certain things that you can't compromise on, and I'm not here to tell you what those are or what those aren't. You have to decide what those are as a man or as a woman, and what you just will not settle for. I mean, that's a part of each person's individual journey. And the point of my podcast is I just want to kind of provide a path, for those who aren't really sure about where they're going through life, about or in reference to people who aren't really certain about certain aspects. This podcast isn't created to tell you 100% which direction you should be going. It's just created in order to provide some guidance. And the beautiful thing about this podcast is I don't know all the answers. As I go through life, as I travel this journey, as I go down this winding road, I'm growing with the podcast. The information that I put out might say one thing, and then I could do a totally different episode and it contain, a ton more information on the subject because of a different experience that I've had in life. I haven't made it. You know what I'm saying? I don't consider myself to be at a point in life to which I'm satisfied with. I'm constantly growing, constantly striving, constantly achieving. And this podcast, the beauty of this podcast is I kind of see myself in this podcast. And as this podcast grows and develops and I try to impart what knowledge I have, up to this age, up to 30 years in my life, I kind of see that I'm taking on the mantle that my grandfather kind of left, which I wish that, we had this technology accessible when he was alive, because I would have recorded a lot of the conversations that we had at certain points in time when it was me and him just, chilling in the room, watching TV, watching Westerns, or just playing chess, or he taught me life lessons through many different, avenues. And I'm just thankful for him. I'm thankful for the time that we had together. I'm thankful for the impact that he had in my life. I'm thankful for, every minute that I was able to spend with him. As I'm thankful for my brother, my fraternity brother as well. I'm thankful for every moment that we got to spend together. And I wish we would have spent more time together. I feel like I couldn't learn enough from those two people. I could sit and talk with them all day. It was just a pleasure to be around them. But this life, nothing's promised. Tomorrow's not promised. The next minute isn't promised. So you got to make every minute count. These minutes that I'm dumping into this podcast that hopefully will outlast my existence, may touch somebody's life either in the present or in the future, and it may provide that spark or that initiative that'll help the person develop and become a better part of themselves, or maybe go up to the next level where maybe they might find another source of motivation or another source of inspiration. Maybe my podcast was just a stepping stone. And I'm perfectly fine with that. You got to find your role in this life, and you got to play it. Every coaches coach, players play, and cheerleaders cheer. That's something Lil Wayne said in the song, but I mean it's true. It's applicable. Coaches coach, players play, and cheerleaders cheer. And it's important to know your role. And a lot of us get kind of lost because society might tell us that this role is less important than that role, or if you don't obtain this role in society, then you haven't made it or you're not successful. But that's not true. You have to determine success for yourself. You have to determine what your role is. Everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur. Everybody's not meant to be a CEO. Everybody's not meant to be at the forefront of every endeavor. There needs to be support staff. There needs to be those people that are the blood of the organization. There has to be admin personnel and the people doing the footwork and the heavy lifting, and even janitors. There's a place for janitors amongst the infrastructure, and we just have to realize that that society and the news and other people don't determine who we are or what we do. We determine that. And what I want to try to get back to, and what I want to try to impart to you is that childlike, imagination, where we never felt that anything was out of the scope of our reach. Because if you think about it, nothing really is. If you apply yourself hard enough and you focus on whatever it is to its completion, nothing is outside your reach. And that's one of the grander concepts that I've been kind of focusing on as I've been looking back over my life. I had a plan. When I was in high school, when I was in college, I had a plan. And then when I had to leave my first college and I felt that first little bit of adversity, my plan kind of got shot. And after my plan got shot, I flipped into a mode of adapt and overcome. So I was kind of just reacting to the situation at that point in time. I had to leave college for financial reasons. So then I was like, well, how can I still stay on track? So I joined the military. Once I got in the military, I completed that. I was like, okay, I'm in the military, but I also want to get my degree. How do I get my degree? So I went back to community college because I couldn't transfer because of my financial status from my first college. So I had to start at day one, class one at community college. I finished my community college. And because of my situation, I couldn't fully attend a brick and mortar school, like physically sit down in a school, because I had to work, had to pay bills, had to live. So I was like, what's the best way I can obtain my college degree while still being able to provide for myself? So I went online and got my education. And, life has kind of been going like that for me. Instead of just having a plan, flicking a domino, and then, watching the effect of the domino just knock the next one down, it's kind of been like, okay, this is where I'm at in my life. What do I need to do next? And then I flick that domino, and then once that domino falls, I'm like, okay, I got that hurdle out the way. What do I need to do next? And then I flick that domino, and so on and so forth. And I'm not saying it's a bad way to live life. Um, I've obtained a lot of success adapting and overcoming, but I see the need and I see the place to have a plan. I understand that you need to see it through, but I also understand that there is a planning component to this journey. Poor planning prevents poor. Hold on, I'm sorry. It's not poor planning prevents poor performance. It's poor preparation. Prior preparation prevents poor performance. There we go. I get my P's mixed up. Prior preparation prevents poor performance. So if we prepare to succeed by planning the whole mission out, or planning as much as we can see, then we're setting ourselves up for success. Of course, as we've talked about in several podcasts ago, there's known knowns, unknown known, and unknown unknowns that we have to prepare for. Those are the three components of planning. Like those are the things that are gonna happen, you don't know is gonna happen, and then stuff that are like in between, like but you don't know if it's gonna happen 100%. I know that's kind of confusing. Comment and let me know, like, hey, that was confusing, and I'll try to clear it up as best as I can. When I read it in a book, it kind of threw me for a loop, but I conceptualize it. I understand what they're saying about known knowns, unknown knowns, and unknown unknowns, like things you don't even know about. So it sounds like it's kind of confusing, but it's really simple. It's really not anything to it. But I just want to make this podcast a little bit different. I know that sometimes it seems like I'm giving a lot of information, which I'm trying to. I'm trying to bombard you with information, stuff that I wish I would have known at an earlier point in my life. And I feel if I would have known that information, it would have put me, leaps and bounds ahead of my peers, or leaps and bounds ahead of the stage that I am in life. But I don't believe that anything happens by chance, and what happens to you, as we've discussed, is a matter of perspective. So I could look at my life and say that I am where I am because of the negative choices that I made, or I could say because of the choices that I made, I am where I am, and hold that in a positive light instead of in a negative light. Because even though I'm not where I want to be ideally, which at this stage of my life, I thought that I'd be piloting a fighter jet in the United States Air Force for several years by now. I have a family. I have 2 beautiful daughters. I'm in a career field that's exciting, that you don't know what's going to happen each and every day, where I contribute to my community in a larger part than just going to a 9 to 5, clocking in, clocking out, and not doing anything except, what gets me paid. I actually get to affect my community in one way or another. I'm creating this podcast, which is the brainchild of struggle and, just learning myself and digging through books and doing a ton of research. So I don't even know if it hadn't been for the decisions that I made that I'd be here at this level of understanding, which I'm not like a super monk or anybody that's enlightened, but I'm getting there. I'm closer than yesterday, and it feels better to know that you're walking through life with a purpose and you're not just meandering, because all who wander aren't lost. Some people, they have a goal, and their goal is to wander and get lost and to understand things from a deeper perspective, and to find their way back from that point of being lost, so they can kind of experience life in that fashion. But again, not everybody's meant to walk a rigid life. Not everybody's meant to walk the same path. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey is unique. And I just wanted to share that with y'all. I didn't have any lesson plan, any script written out, anything, any quotes that I wanted to say. I just wanted to create a podcast where I was just, kind of going off the top of my head, having a conversation just between you and I, where I discussed kind of where I'm at in life. It was a little bit ambiguous on purpose. I'm not getting into specifics, diving, too deep into the life of Chase Beatty. But, I am human. I make mistakes. And this podcast is my effort to leave this world, leave my community, leave society better than I found it. So I hope that these episodes do not fall to deaf ears and that I am impacting somebody's life positively the way both my grandfather and my fraternity brother did before they left this earth.